Good morning, sweet ones. How you doing? It's bright and early, July 1st. Magical, magical numbers. As we go into this beautiful day, may our intentions be to connect with this ninth resonance wave of the heart and continue anchoring in oneness and unity consciousness. You know, I talk an awful lot about love, and I write a lot about it. And I've been outside for the past couple hours. I usually get up between 1 and 3 and go out there and meditate, connect with Gaia, connect with Spirit. And one of the very first things I do before I ever even get out of bed is I thank the Creator for another day, another breath. And that's something that I have always done since my journey. And as I'm sitting out talking to Gaia this morning, asking her, it's like, Gaia, what can I do for you today? And her response to me was, love. And I said, I love every day, Gaia. And she says, no, today, love. Love in a way that you've never loved before. Open your heart to expand love even more. I said, is that possible, Gaia? And she says, today is a magical day. She goes, today, everything is possible. And you know, I talked to her. She is me. She is you. There's no separation between us. And you know, she tells me, or I tell us, however you want to look at it, that love is a romance. Love in itself is romance. And, you know, we talk about love in so many different facets. And yet, the depths of it, the human mind can't wrap its logic around. And, you know, I write in my poetry, and if you observe how I am, in my poetry I write to the human aspect, what is a very erotic, sexual relationship. However, I write my poetry from my spirit. And in that sacred union, in the spirit side of it, it is a very sensual, erotic, tantric, loving wholeness, if you will, that you share with each other in that sacred union. And in my videos, I talk more of love in this moment and in dealing with the things we go through. And in my posts, I write more about the energies and different facets of the wisdom that we hold within ourselves. I write in allegories and parables and in stories. Some of it will make sense to the human aspect, most will not. You know, I write in coded posts, and so it's for myself, it's a very roundabout thing. I don't separate the different aspects of myself, if you will. But love in itself, sweethearts, what we as a human have learned what romance is, and what so many focus on even when we're not on an individual journey, if you will, on the spiritual journey, just in life in general. We look at relationships and romance and love and sex is all the same thing, and we give it a fairy tale spin and a fantasy spin and a perfection spin to it. And that's the farthest thing from romance, really, in the true sense of it, that is. Because the romance is in the pain and the pleasure found in through that pain. That's the dance of love. It's only duality that has put us into a space that against each other, against fear and love, against black and white, positive, negative, good and bad. And the spiritual journey is returning us to our wholeness and completeness within, yes, absolutely. Connecting us to the divinity and sovereignty of all that we are and all that we will ever be and have ever been. It's releasing the humanness and embodying the wholeness of the hues of the rays that we are. And no matter what these experiences, because remember, everything that we experience right now, in the here and now, in this very moment, is already the past. Because everything starts in energy. And when you can love what arises, when you can find the magic and the beauty and the pleasure in whatever pain is presented, that's the romance, sweet ones. That is the passion that gets ignited in your heart and in your soul, is in that pain. If you observe humanity and history, it is in the greatest tragedies, and oftentimes globally it is natural tragedies that bring us back to our hearts in the human aspect of it. Not the spiritual, but the human aspect. It takes a death in a family, it takes a death in a community, it takes a death in the world. And however that death is presented, whether it is through war, terrorism, tsunamis, whatever it may be, death brings us together. Death and tragedy unites us through our hearts. Because that is when humanity sets aside the borders, sets aside the religions, sets aside the cultures, sets aside the prejudice, sets aside the racism, sets aside the politics, and comes together through our hearts, through compassion, and through the love that we know through our spirits, as our spirits in unity and oneness. And yes, it's sad that it takes a tragedy for humanity to come together, but that's changing, sweet ones. No longer is it going to be as above and so below, as within, so without. It's going to be hand in hand and side by side, and it already is. And when we quit separating as above and so below, as within and so without, it'll come into more unity and more oneness. And more separation and more duality will leave. And that's what it's all about, coming back to our hearts in, of, and through love, sweet ones. Because what you call darkness, what you call hurt, what we call ego, is the pain that seeks the pleasure of the romance of all that we are. We are light and dark. We are both. There is no separation, and your journey is about accepting that. So you have a sexy side to you. Accept it. Doesn't make you a Jezebel. So you wear your pants to your knees. It doesn't make you a thug. It makes you uniquely you. And if you want to have a drink and you want to smoke a cigar and if you want to go smoke a joint, so be it. But don't judge it. You want to go out dancing, you want to go out meditating, whatever it is that you want to do it through love. Do it through acceptance. And don't judge it. But by the same token, don't judge it in others either. And when the tragedy comes or the hurt presents itself, remember, sweet ones, it is our own delusions in this illusion of this hologram that is a dream that we have created to evolve ourselves, that we have to forgive ourselves for. The greatest fear that humanity faces is facing itself. And let me give an example. I'm not a fan of Texas. But Spirit kept bringing me back here. I'm still not a fan of Texas. And I have nothing against Texas. Good morning, Nando. Good morning, Helena. Good morning, Martika, Adela. Who else? Lorraine. I'm not Michelle, Muhammad. I'm not sure everybody who else I've missed. And, I had to ask myself, what do you got against Texas? And, of course, my human can come up with every purpose in the world. Oh, and then some. Trust me. And it's not that I have anything against Texas. It's just that, we get so comfortable in our own cultures, in our own beliefs, in our own taught behaviors. And even though we don't realize just how it affects us, my little sweetheart friend Kent, he's a southern boy. And I'm a northern girl, and he always teases me, difference between southerners and northerners. And, the first time I ever left Montana to go east, I'm not used to my clothes having a dampness to them because of the humidity. And so I keep trying, this is back in 94, I kept trying to dry my clothes. And they wouldn't get dry, and it's like, I had to go to my dad's sister, and it's like, is there something wrong with your dryer? I mean, we don't realize the little intricate details of the different cultures. And when I was in Baltimore, when the riot was going on there a couple of years ago, there's this mother out there, and it went viral. It was all over everything. Because she was sitting there, her son was, participating in this riot, busting out windows on cop cars, in these schools, yada, yada, yada. And she went out there and she literally started knocking him on his ass. And, and then half of the country was applauding her, and the other half of the country was criticizing her because she's physically hitting her kid. And she comes back the following day, I think it was, and she was interviewed on one of the national channels, and she says, look, she goes, we have to teach our children, this is the way we have to do it, because society has made us harsh. Society has made it to where this is the way we have to, because we have been brought up to be like this. It's not like somebody who lives out in the country that doesn't deal with, no, Snoopy, come on now. No, come on now. It's not like somebody in the country who doesn't have to deal with this kind of stuff that we face in the city day in and day out. And she's absolutely correct. Not that there is an incorrect or a correct. But we have been brought up to those spaces. And that's where love really comes in. Is when we can open our hearts to the differences and open ourselves up to acceptance of those differences, we're able to find the magic easier. We're able to see the beauty. You know, I made a statement last night on my video, you know, to some people in my life, they would consider it hell. You know, to me, I think my life is very beautiful. Could it be better? We can always improve in everything. But my life is very simple by choice. I enjoy my solitude, if you will. Do I get lonely? Absolutely. You know, does the human side need a hug once in a while? Absolutely. But I enjoy my quietness. I enjoy my time. But I spend a lot of my time connecting to other aspects of myself, if you will. And I spend a lot of time helping people. And that's what Twitter paints in my heart. It's not about money for me. It's not about, you know, that's one thing I've been guided. And again, it's different for each of us. You know, we each have a purpose here, and whatever that may be, it's all the same thing. It's love. It comes down to love. Love in its own perfect imperfection, unique expressions through each and every one of us. But just as there is the basis of love in absolutely every single religion, regardless of how it's been distorted, the basis of each one of us is love. As love, through love, in love. And that erotic, sensual, romantic, fairy tale, ultimate love story that you all seek is right here in this moment. Because when you can have that erotic, sensual, passionate, wholesome dance with yourself, with every aspect, the aspects that has had to been labeled light and dark, good and bad, correct and incorrect, hurt, fear and love. That is the romantic dance. That is the ultimate fairy tale. It's within yourself. And when you can allow that, when you are in the throes of pain, you are nearest your light. Now, to some people, that sounds outrageous. That sounds crazy. But it is when you are in the throes and in the depths of darkness that you are nearest your light. And you have the greatest ability to love in all that you are. Because it is in that space, in that womb, in that darkness, that you plant the seeds of freedom, that you plant the seeds of ecstasy, that you plant the seeds of that erotic, sensual love affair to be birthed through the pain of the experiences of getting you there. And it is that romantic dance of pain and pleasure, sweethearts, that is the savior of your soul. Because the remedy is always the tragedy. Because in the tragedy is where we come together in oneness through the heart. Whether it's individual tragedy, whether it's collective tragedy, global tragedy, that is where we take the walls around our hearts down. And that is where we open ourselves up to the vulnerability of all that love is, regardless of what society, religion, culture, teachers, parents, friends, lovers have taught us. And what life has taught us up to this point, none of it matters. Because when you open your heart, you can fully, when you surrender to that love fully in its vulnerability, you come to understand that there is no above and below. There is no within and without. There is no separation. It is right now, hand in hand, side by side. It's heaven and earth together in unity. And therefore there's no need to have it as above and so below, because they've come into oneness. They're side by side anymore. They're not separated. That sacred marriage has occurred within and without. And that, sweet ones, when you can bring the above and below together to 0 point, when you can bring the within and the without to 0 point, that's when you're eternal, infinite, immortal. And that is truly the ultimate love affair and romance that you seek. And I can guarantee you, sweethearts, excuse me, in every breath, it's just love, regardless of what is presented. And it is when you can come to that space, when two paths meet, physically or energetically, that meeting point is gone. When two hearts open to each other and connect in any way, whether it's pain or whether it's pleasure, or whether it's the ecstasy dance of both, that is the magic of you. That is the magic of unity, and that is the magic of oneness. And that is the truth of all that we are. And when you come into that completeness and that wholeness here, in that sacred marriage, that sacred union, of where heaven and hell, heaven and earth are no longer separated, where as above and so below, and as within and as without, is right here, all now, in this present moment. When everything that you have dreamed of in your heart desires, and all the wants of the physical humanness, become the wants through, in, of, and through the divine will, you will find it will manifest here in the physical. And that is what is happening. And through this seemingly tragedy, chaos, turbulence that is going on, sweethearts, whatever is revealed to us, it all is just love. And when you can approach it as such, it will be beautiful. And it will be the ultimate love story that you seek. Allow yourselves to really feel into the love of all that is everyone's today. For the next 18 days, really connect to this resonance wave of the heart. And really allow love, the vulnerability of it. Open yourselves up to all that you fear and step into it and release it. Because truly, on the other side of fear is love. That which you seek. And when you step into it, you discover that that fear is love. And it is your lover. And that's what's going to guide you, because it Twitter pates your heart. Have a magical day, sweethearts. I love you. Big, big hugs and blessings. Bye-bye now.